If you're like me, then you definitely have an interest in cars. Even so, there's many subgenres of cars that might or might not always get along. Me personally, I'm more of a supercar enthusiast. Some of my dream cars include the Audi R8, Mercedes SLS, Gallardo, and the like. Low-hung, big-engined, fun to drive, well-built, luxurious, and with some prestige to them. However, of course, there's a lot of other types of vehicles that one could very well be an enthusiast of, such as 4x4 off-roaders and crawlers with their special crawl gearing on the expensive ones, or the rugged, well-done custom ones taken out to crawl huge rocks on mountainsides. There's a lot of popularity to rallying as well, which is kind of an extreme combination of those off-roaders with normal cars tuned up in order to navigate harsh terrains as fast as possible. But what if I told you that there's a car out there that melts all the types of cars that I mentioned into one? A car that was fully developed and almost went into official production. One that managed to innovate completely new suspension dynamics that put the car in its own segment, in its own league. Today, I'm going to be introducing to you and thoroughly talking about a car that lives in my mind rent-free and will forever be something I wish could have came into fruition. The infamous Korres P4. Between the years 1948 and 1990, Citroën had successfully manufactured over 9 million 2CVS's in different configurations, in 5 different configurations. The car was arguably one of the most innovative for its time. It might have not been fast, but it for sure helped French farmers move their eggs from A to B without them being smashed due to the, at the time, rough French roads. They managed to create a cheap and easy to maintain car with such a smooth ride comparable even to today's luxurious vehicle segment, by doing something special, fitting a long travel suspension system that connected the front and rear wheels. Citroën continued to attempt to innovate the car suspensions for years, creating some less easy and cheap to maintain cars by creating the hydropneumatic suspension, which didn't catch on, but it was definitely a smooth ride when it worked and an impressive technology for sure. But let's step away from France for a second and travel a little east of it to the beautiful country of Greece. Greece was never known to be a manufacturing powerhouse of any kind, maybe except olive oil. But there is vehicle manufacturing history here which is notable in its own right. Namco is a Japanese... wait, not this Namco. Since 1960, Namco, or the National Motor Company of Greece, has been producing over 40,000 small utility vehicles, nowadays called pony. Most of their vehicles were exported to other countries, as Greece itself didn't allow the vehicles to be sold in its own market legally, because of course it didn't. To this day, they restore about 30 old ponies per year to new specifications in the factory, and they create a number of designs and projects as well as whole vehicles that are outsourced to other countries such as India or Africa, yet still not in the Greek market due to European legislation complications, in their headquarters factory in Thessaloniki. Pony, however, was not the only Greek car manufacturer. Today, there's also Chaos, a hypercar, or as they call it, an ultra car that will define the new era of hypercars when it gets released, and it will have like an extraordinary price of 15 million euros or so, claiming over 2 or 3,000 horsepower options and 0 to 60 times of under 2 seconds, but none of its huge claims have been proven yet, and we're still waiting for the car to be shown or sold. It kind of reminds me of the Devil 16, but I'm not here to talk about Chaos. I'm here to talk about order. About the order of sketching, designing, producing, and solving problems in order to end up with a result that you want. Dimitri Corus has always been a problem solver. From a young age, he has always been interested in not only solving architectural problems, but also creating machines because he sees that as a problem. And he's the kind of man who yearns for the pleasure of properly solving these types of issues. In one of his many interviews with Greek media, he talks about a wooden little wagon he made when he was still going to high school, a conjunction of wood, plastic, fabrics and other materials, which got him kicked out from school that day because the teachers didn't allow him to bring his expensive toys at school, not knowing that it was something he made himself. His father was a civil engineer and a mechanic himself, and that's how he got the bug. He studied to become one too, yet he never really cared about the actual degree. He ended up showing his expertise in the real world by a couple of big-time opportunities, including moving an old small church from one place to another using rails and other materials to slide it to its new location. Korres Engineering was then created, mainly because he was really good at solving unique problems of big construction projects, which is what he has been doing for the past many years, as well as moving buildings. While growing up, he was more of a motorcycle enthusiast. One of his earliest projects, which stands the test of time to this day, is the Yume motorcycle, which is self-explanatory. In his words, it depicts the erotic relationship that humans have nowadays with technology. His ideology in life, and I agree with him, is such that dictates that every single thing around us that is man-made obviously has had a lot of work and focus put into it. Every tiny detail about it was thought in some form or another as a problem to be solved or adjusted. As somewhat of a motoring enthusiast himself, seeing the beauty of how motorbikes and also cars worked, of course, he decided to tackle a huge problem that hasn't exactly been solved to this day, up to his standards at least: wheel versus pothole. This is quite the interesting topic, and this is why I talked about the Citroën 2CV in the previous part of this video. He researched by himself all kinds of suspension systems, and inspired by the 2CV, he managed, along with some help from other mechanics and people who were around him and able to design with him, and produce a car that completely outperformed what they theoretically thought it could have done. The first project was slow, small and used only an 1000cc engine, yet it performed magically on rough terrain. Korres initially didn't expect this to become a production car at all. It might even be a reason that his cars were never sold to the public or so yet. The fact that he never saw producing and profiting off of this new suspension he patented as a problem to be solved. Or at least that's my opinion. After accepting more funding, as at the time Greece's stock market was doing oddly well, they created the second project, using now a 1300cc engine, but with more money on the line here. He and his mechanics realized that they were venturing into the car space and did not understand it at all. They did a lot of market research and realized their position was completely out of place, as they had an expensive small vehicle that was capable but didn't have any buyers for it. Through further research, it was decided that they needed to market the vehicle as a supercar, one that was fast, could perform and also look good doing it, in order to justify the price tag. Then the P3 was created, now using a 3.5 liter engine, and with some improvements due to the whole dynamics, the car just performed better than ever. It was shaping up to be a real machine. During this, an Arabian military branch contacted Korres with a huge money offer to enroll the car into one of their programs and help produce this vehicle for themselves. However, Korres politely declined, as their goal had become to eventually market this as a car to the public. After creating over 10,000 unique handcrafted individual pieces of machinery, refining and improving their platform, their new project called the P4 was unveiled to the public eye in 2013. The Korres P4 is a one-off technically concept car that is undeniably able to change industry standards, in my opinion. It's an incredible crawler and performs like no other on off-road tracks. It's basically as good or even better than those flash games that we all used to play on Free or Miniclip. It's the so-called perfect getaway vehicle. It not only connects the front and rear wheels, but it also introduces front-to-back suspension travel for each wheel, which makes portholes unrecognizable. On top of that, the car is fitted with a modern hydraulic system that in a minute or less, it can raise the car up to more than 40 centimeters or 15 inches. But when you decided you had enough crawling and pacing around the jungle and found yourself on a nice long stretch of highway road, you can simply lower the car and push the 505 horsepower 7-liter LS7 engine to its limits and do over 180 miles per hour. It was not only made with off-roading or top speed in mind, however, having both a 33% front to 67% rear all-wheel drive system as well as a rear-wheel drive option. It could be tuned to handle anything: a tough racetrack, a solid rally course, any mountainous area, whatever you put this car up to, it will just perform. The car was even driven by one of the most successful WRC drivers, Tommi Mäkinen, who had nothing but good words to say about the car, which was eventually improved and retuned even more with some of his valuable suggestions.
I need to say yesterday what I saw yesterday off-road. Off-road was something like what I couldn't believe. I thought that I have seen everything, but I wasn't. It was something incredible.
The LS7 was mated with a modern 6-speed manual transmission, which gives the car the ability to be fun and perform on asphalt, as well as perform on rugged terrain on demand with more control over the gearing manually.
Here is the main gearbox with 6 gears, synchronized, very friendly. There are 3 choices. One is for cruising with economy, the other is for performance, makes the car very wild, and the other is for rock climbing.
This car was supposed to be showcased in a Las Vegas convention, along with some other places, and it was supposed to have started production using GM's L87 instead, a more efficient and almost as powerful replacement to the LS7 that was used in the concept, which is a 6.2 liter making around 420 horsepower. It wasn't documented by who the car would have been produced, but we do know that there were supposed to be 2 production plants, one in Greece and one in Utah in the US. The car had around 3 supposed real buyers interested, and it was rumored to have the price tag of 230,000 euros or around $250,000, which is not steep at all, especially considering the prices of some Dakar similar type cars. Sadly, however, Korres ran out of funding for the project. The entire division of around 5 people, paid of course, who worked on this project were let go, and no further funding was provided for the project, putting it in an eternal freeze since 10 years ago now, as of the making of this video. This to me is one of the most incredible and innovative conceptions I've ever come across, and I have to admit I am proud that it is a Greek man who has created this car. As a Greek myself, I'd do anything to see it grow and become a real competitor in the general car scene one way or another. If it had properly advertised itself to the right crowd, if Korres managed to hire the right people who made the right moves to show this car and its capabilities, it would absolutely have been a killer. The car is technically not dead. It's still still works fine 10 years later and is being maintained by Korres himself, and people still visit the car to study it and drive it. The Korres P4 went through a German regulatory agency that legalizes cars to be sold and to have license plates in Europe. So it could technically have a license plate and could be driven out on the road legally, but Korres never did that because he wanted to do that for the customers. It truly never fails to amaze everyone who gets a go at it. And Korres is really friendly. He lets anyone drive the car. Journalists, college students. So if you're a millionaire and you wish to push this project to the last few miles to the finish line to get it finally made, or if you know someone who would and could do so, I suggest you show them this video or the car itself. It deserves to be a thing, to tackle the problem, to change how high-end suspension could potentially work in the future of motoring. Thank you for watching my video on the Korres P4, a special project that will always have a place in my heart. I appreciate all your support on my previous videos and aim to continue to make more videos of unheard of supercars, so stay tuned. Also, I want to thank my wife Leif for supporting me and being there for me always. I will link her channel in the description, as she also makes videos on topics that she finds interesting that you might enjoy. Καλησπέρα ή καλημέρα. Λέγομαι Αλέξανδρος Παπαδόπουλος. Αυτή τη στιγμή βρίσκομαι στη Φλόριντα. Είμαι 23 ετών, γεννημένος το 2000 και από μικρό παιδί ήμουν λάτρης των αυτοκινήτων. Έπαιζα με Hot Wheels, έπαιζα βίντεο παιχνίδια στον υπολογιστή με αυτοκίνητα όλη την ώρα. Θέλω να πω καταρχήν πως έχω τεράστιο σεβασμό για αυτό που έχετε δημιουργήσει. Το Korres P4 και το P3 αλλά και το P4 είναι μια υπέρτατη μηχανή, η οποία θέλω μια μέρα να το οδηγήσω και να το νιώσω αυτό το αυτοκίνητο πραγματικά. Είναι εξωπραγματικό. Ως Έλληνας θέλω πραγματικά να διαδώσω αυτό το αυτοκίνητο σε όλο τον κόσμο, γιατί είναι εξωπραγματικό. Είναι κάτι που δεν υπάρχει και θα έπρεπε να υπάρχει. Είναι, πιστεύω, το μέλλον της ρόδας, το μέλλον του αυτοκινήτου, τουλάχιστον το προσωρινό μέλλον. Αυτό που έχετε δημιουργήσει είναι μια τεχνολογία η οποία μπορεί να χρησιμοποιηθεί σε πάρα πολλών ειδών αυτοκινήτων και νομίζω το ξέρετε και εσείς. Έχετε κάνει όλες τις έρευνες που μπορούν να γίνουν. Αλλά πιστεύω ότι ο τρόπος που διαδώσατε το αυτοκίνητο δεν ήταν καθόλου αποτελεσματικός και είναι ένας από τους λόγους, πέρα των χρηματικών λόγων, είναι ένας από τους λόγους που απέτυχε το αυτοκίνητο. Πέρα από το ότι η Ελλάδα δεν βοήθησε, μακάρι να μπορούσε να βοηθήσει, πιστεύω πως εάν είχε διαδοθεί το αυτοκίνητο σωστά, θα μπορούσε και ακόμα μπορεί αυτό το project να πάει μπροστά με ένα διαφορετικό design. Διάβασα κάποια comments που έλεγαν ότι δεν είναι και το πιο όμορφο αυτοκίνητο. Εγώ πιστεύω πως είναι όμορφο, αλλά θα μπορούσε να είναι και πολύ καλύτερο το design του αυτοκίνητου. Έχω ταλέντο στα τρισδιάστατα μοντέλα και θα ήθελα πάρα πολύ να γίνω μέρος αυτού του project, κάνοντας ένα καινούριο design, το οποίο θα είναι πιο τραγικό στο μάτι, θα είναι πιο όμορφο, θα μιλάει από μόνο του. Και αυτό είναι κάτι που θα προσεγγίσει άτομα για να μάθουν το πώς δουλεύει αυτό το αυτοκίνητο, χωρίς να ξέρουν καν πώς συμπεριφέρεται αυτό το αυτοκίνητο στο δρόμο και έξω από το δρόμο. Μόνο που θα το βλέπουν να είναι τόσο όμορφο, θα θέλουν να μάθουν πώς θα λειτουργεί αυτό το αυτοκίνητο. Και άμα το διαδώσουμε σωστά, μέσω του TikTok, μέσω του Twitter, θα φτιάξω animations στο καινούριο design. Όλα αυτά τα πράγματα που μπορούμε να κάνουμε χρησιμοποιώντας το ίντερνετ, μπορούμε να βρούμε επενδυτές και αγοραστές. Αυτό θα ήταν το όνειρό μου, να υπάρξει ένα ελληνικό υπεραυτοκίνητο. Είτε απλό αυτοκίνητο, αλλά και το Korres είναι απλά καλύτερο από ένα απλό αυτοκίνητο. Και θα ήθελα πάρα πολύ να υπάρξει στην πραγματικότητα. Και είμαι διαθέσιμος να βοηθήσω. Πέρα από αυτό, είτε βρείτε επαγγελματίες, είτε πουλήσετε τελικά το project ολόκληρο, εγώ θα συνεχίσω να κυνηγάω τα όνειρά μου, να φτιάξω το δικό μου αυτοκίνητο, είτε το κάνω εδώ στην Αμερική που βρίσκομαι, είτε το κάνω στην Ελλάδα, είτε οπουδήποτε. Ο σκοπός μου είναι να βοηθήσω τη χώρα μου και τους ανθρώπους της. Καλές γιορτές, καλό 2024, αυτό ήταν το μήνυμά μου.